Well, hey, long time no see. I'm not even gonna give any kind of spiel about why I stopped. It just happened. That's just the way the cookie crumbled. I'm gonna just go straight into what we're doing today. So here's what we're doing. Here's what I'm thinking. I am obsessed with the Hunger Games, and I have been for years, since they first came out, when everyone was reading it in middle school and everyone around me was Team Gale and I was the only person with some sense who was Team PETA. And I don't know if you know this. You probably do if you're watching this, though. There is a new movie coming out in the month of November as a prequel for the original trilogy. Now, ideally, this first part on the first book was coming out a few weeks ago, and then by the time Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, that video was going to be almost ready to go. I was just going to have to film it. However, I didn't do that. I didn't plan well like I meant to, but we're going to pretend that I did. So everyone, I hope that you're enjoying where would I have started? This would be like Halloween. I hope you had a great Halloween, and I hope that you're ready for the month of November, which has just started, and we are not halfway through it, and I am not making this 3 days before the movie comes out. I would like to just kind of jump right into it, though, because I will sit here and talk about nothing forever and ever if I don't. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with some background information about Panm and the districts and how all that means and how we got to where we are when the first book begins. And then we're going to jump to the first book. And that's what we're going to cover in this video. And then Catching Fire is going to get its own. Mockingjay is going to get its own. And then once I'm actually able to go see Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, that will get a video as well. But it will be the last one because I, much like with Taylor Swift re-recordings and Marvel movies, fully believe that you should do things in release order because the things that you discover from a prequel are what make prequels fun. You shouldn't start with them. Don't start with the prequel. Do not do it. All right, so here's what you need to know about the government and everything that we start off in for the 74th annual Hunger Games in the first Hunger Games book. So this takes place in a nation called Panm. Panm is basically North America after a bunch of climate disasters and nuclear war and a bunch of other things that are actually really possible. This right here is a flag of Panm. This is their flag at the start of the trilogy. And this, I'm going to throw it up bigger on the screen as well, is a map of how the districts are broken down. So basically, in this point of where we are for climate disasters, most of the eastern seaboard has sunk into the ocean. It's gone. Same with the west coast. We do incorporate a little bit of Mexico, and a good amount of Canada is also considered in this. So if I was going to use 3 adjectives to describe Panm's government, it would be totalitarian, dictatorship, police state. Like a fun little remix of Gaslight, Gatekeep, Girl Boss. As far as the police state goes for those 3 adjectives, that's because there are these people that are called peacekeepers that exist in each district, and essentially what they're doing is being state police and simply monitoring everything they do. They have the ability to dole out punishment. They report back to the capital of anyone who is breaking any rules, and they are a constant presence in each district. So the force used to be housed in District 13, but then after it was destroyed, it got moved to District 2. And District 8 is where all of the uniforms for the peacekeepers are manufactured. I mean, of course, they're going to market this as keeping people safe or whatever, but it's about control. So you have the capital, which exists as kind of the ruling part over the 12 districts outside of the capital. The capital is on a higher level than the districts, and they basically just exist to export goods to the capital for them to enjoy without ever being able to reap any of the benefits of what they're producing. And because of that, in the districts, most people are living in poverty except for the ones that are very close to the capital and are providing luxury goods to them. The capital and Panem as a whole existed like this for a while. I couldn't find a specific time frame of how much time exactly passed, but at some point there was a huge uprising in the districts, and they decided that they were going to take down the capital to reestablished democratic rule. So this was called the First Rebellion. At this point in time, there were 13 districts that were working. Districts 1 through 13. They have different imports that they work with. I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But all you need to know basically at this point is that there was a huge uprising, huge rebellion. All of these districts worked together to try to take down the capital, and they did lose. And then District 13 was destroyed. As far as we know, okay, so the First Rebellion and all the conflict lasted for about 3 years, and then after 13 was destroyed, that brought in what the capital very dramatically dubbed Dark Days. So, during this time period is kind of like what you could consider kind of like Reconstruction after the Civil War, where there's a lot of financial ruin, a lot of poverty going around every single part and trying to come back from that. Obviously, very different causes, very different after effects, but as far as just like overall economically, that's what I would compare it to. According to the Capitol, for every Capitol citizen that died, 2 rebels died, which to me is simply it's propaganda. It's just it's fake. I don't believe that. They are liars. So during the Dark Days, they established the Treaty of Treason, which was basically something that all the districts had to sign that set up a bunch of very limiting rules, basically as punishment for everything that had happened during the rebellion. And the biggest thing that happened from this treaty was the invention of the Hunger Games. Now, after this point in time, almost all of the contact between the districts is completely dissolved. They don't want them to be able to communicate because then they can organize and rebel again. At the time that our story starts, the leader of the country is President Snow. There have been other presidents before. We don't really have a long lineage of who it is precisely, and we don't know exactly how many years he's been in power, but we know that it has been at least 25 because he was the president during the 50th Hunger Games, and we are now at the 74th. So the name for Panem itself derives from a Latin phrase. I'm going to fucking butcher this. I'm going to absolutely butcher this, and you can make fun of me if you want, but I might cry about it. That's all I have to say. Panem et circenses. Basically, it's bread and circuses, and essentially what that refers to is like using cheap entertainment to distract people from the fact that they're hungry. So basically, Suzanne Collins is a genius, and she should have every award on the planet because that's really good, and that's like she's just like so good at her job. Oh my god, she's so good at her job. I want to take just a second to go over like each one and what their main like export is, just because when we get into like the actual games, what the districts make actually kind of uniquely goes into like what their strengths and weaknesses end up being. So you have like people that can swim, and then a lot of people that can't swim. You have people that can use certain weapons because they've been using them all their lives, and you have some people that are pretty useless with like different weapons because they've never really had an opportunity to use anything like that. So there, it's like kind of like it's very, I don't know, each district is very unique because they aren't allowed to do anything that is not the thing that they do, because there is no communication between the districts on purpose so that they can't rebel again. So District 1 is going to be close to the capital. They produce all the luxury goods. So that is going to be like, you know, anything that makes the capital, that sets it apart from the districts. A lot of that stuff is going to be made in District 1. And then for District 2, that's going to be masonry. So that's going to include like some weaponry and also like kind of support for transportation services. Like I said, this is where most of the peacekeepers are coming from, and it also houses the main military base for all of Panem called the Nut, which will become more important later on, and I will talk about it in more detail then, but it is where it is, and it's there for the entirety of the story. Because the nut is in this district, they do get a lot of extras from the capital. District 3 is going to be technology. It's not directly beside the capital, so it isn't considered on the same level as 1, 2, and 4, but it is still a pretty important district because it's making a huge main export item. And then District 4 is going to be fishing. Then 5 is going to be all the power production. So you're going to have a lot of like the power plants and everything, and it is going to supply directly to the capital everything that they need to run, and they need a lot to run because they are very materialistic and they have a lot of fun little things that they like to do. District 6 is going to be transportation. And then 7 is lumber. 8 is textiles. Again, this is where they make all of the peacekeeper uniforms as well. In 9, you're going to have grain. 10 is going to be livestock. It's a lot of Texas and northern Mexico for livestock. And then 11 is agriculture. And then 12 is mining. And when 13 existed, it produced graphite. That we know of. As the story begins, District 13's main export was graphite. So that's just each of the districts. As far as like our main characters go, big contenders, obviously District 12 is where the protagonist is from, but then we also have a lot that goes on with like 11 and 4 and 1 and 2. So specifically districts 1, 2, and 4 are what are considered career districts. So these kids in these districts, it is considered an honor to be chosen for the Hunger Games, and they will train, even though technically they're not allowed to do that. They will train for the games, and they will volunteer constantly so that they can have a chance to bring like glory and honor to their district. They're fucking crazy. The people in this district, they're fucking crazy. They are literally insane. I don't understand how they have bought in so heavy to the shit that the capital is selling, but they have, and it's probably because they're directly connected to it and they're getting a lot of perks from it, and so they feel like they're getting a better deal. And they also are getting more food and stuff, so they have the ability to be stronger and to train for the Hunger Games. Okay, I've been saying Hunger Games a lot, so you might be wondering, what's that? You probably actually aren't wondering that, because I feel like a lot of people that see this probably are just like me, and will consume like any content humanly possible about a thing that they like, even if they already feel like they know way too much about it already. Hi, it's nice to meet you. We're the same. Basically, essentially, each year there are 24 children that go into a fight to the death with only one winner. There's 24 children, 2 from each district, 1 boy and 1 girl. All of these are children between the ages of 12 and 18. They're chosen during a reaping ceremony, which is essentially everyone's name in a big bowl, and it is chosen at random. A caveat thing that exists for the games that isn't super explained well in the movie, but they go into it more in the book, is that if you want to get more supplies for your family so that they have the ability to eat and not die, you can decide to put your name into the bowl more times in order to get, it's literally just grain and oil. Like, it's not like yummy, like life-sustaining food. It's like just enough to not die. But you get your name entered in an extra time every time you take it every year. That's called tessery. I don't know if did I say that? It's called tessery. So as I said, you are allowed to volunteer to take someone's place. You don't see this happen a lot, except for in the career districts where like they're doing that because they want to prove that they're strong people. But in all the other districts, it's incredibly like scary to go in. So you really rarely see anyone volunteer. And each year, the arena changes and the overall theming change, and it's decided by the head game maker, who is basically going to be the person that orchestrates everything, any kind of surprise that happens, any kind of twist. That is all like at the behest. Behest? Does that mean what I think? Yes. Behest. That is actually the perfect word. Wow. Go me. That was a good word. Hell yeah. Okay. Every district also has a mentor, which is a winner from a previous games. So some districts obviously have a lot more winners than others. So you kind of have like your pick of the litter in some, and then other ones you're stuck with what you get, which is what we see in District 12, where the main characters of our story are from. So the mentors do have a pretty important job, though. So, of course, they're helping with like the training and strategizing of how to do well before they get into the arena. That way people do like them and want to help them out. But once they get into the arena, the mentors are responsible for talking to the capital citizens in order to convince them to send them gifts into the arena to help them. So people in the capital are allowed to bet, they are allowed to send presents, they're allowed to be involved in the games because it keeps them very enticed and it keeps them entertained. It basically gets treated like a big sports tournament situation, like it's like March Madness, but children, and they die. That's the best way I can think of to describe it. I don't know. So obviously, since it's a fight to the death, each year there can only be one winner. But after this person wins the Hunger Games, they're kind of considered set for life. They get to reside in the victor's village in their district, and they kind of never have to want for anything again. So that's kind of just like overall a basic premise of how the Hunger Games works. And that's a lot of rules thrown at you all at once. And I understand that. It will make more sense once you have like faces to put with like things that happen, and you'll get there. But I did want to go ahead and say it that way when I start throwing names around, it's not completely foreign information to you. So that is kind of a very quick, very sped through rundown of everything that is kind of like established information. We kind of find that out in pieces throughout the book, but it's easier just to say it all up front, especially when we're doing it more as a recap. So I'm going to change this board over, and then we will go ahead and start talking about the book, The Hunger Games, and where our story starts and where it ends up. Okay. Hi again. Here we are. We are all set up for our main and supporting and little bitty part characters that exist in this movie. I'm going to talk about them briefly and just give you names, and then once we go into their context, I think they're going to make a lot more sense to you. But right here, we have Katniss Everdeen. She is our protagonist. She is the main character. She is that girly. And then we have Peeta. He is a boy in District 12. All of this is happening in District 12, by the way, of course. He's a boy in District 12. Gale, I don't really even want to tell you anything about him because I hate him. Well, he's also a boy in District 12, I guess. Unfortunately, he's here in the fucking story. Fuck him. War criminal. And all around a bad dude. Haymitch is going to be the mentor for District 12. He is the only alive victor in District 12. Beside Haymitch, we have Effie Trinket. She is going to be kind of like the person from the capital that comes to District 12, and whoever ends up being the two people that are picked, she's in charge of them. She's taking them around. She's showing them how it goes. And then I'm really not sure why they gave Cinna his own character poster. However, they did, so I put him in the top row. But in all honesty, he is important to Katniss, but I do not know if I would put him up there with the rest of these characters. But he is Katniss's stylist while she is like a part of everything that's going on, and he's dressing her up. He's a big confidant for her. I honestly love their dynamic. It's one of my favorite things about the books. So like I get him being up there, but also I think it might just be because he's Lenny Kravitz. I think that might have something to do with it. Okay, and then our second row of characters. This is Primrose Everdeen. This is Katniss's little sister. She's 12 years old at the time that the story starts. This is her first entry into the games. And this is their mother. She does not have a name. I have her in my thing as Mother Everdeen. This little guy over here in the corner is their father. He is dead. He has been dead for years and years and years. He died in a mining accident, and Katniss has been having to take care of her mother and Prim for that entire time. As far as these three goons over here, you can probably tell that they are not district people and they are capital people. So you have, I almost just called him Stanley Tucci, which is his name, but what the fuck is his character's name? I should know this. Caesar Flickerman. Oh my God. I really almost just called him Stanley Tucci, unironically. Caesar Flickerman is kind of like the person who does all the interviews with all of the tributes, and he is like a media guy for the games, essentially. And then that is going to be Claudius Templesmith. He is in a similar role as Caesar, but he's kind of more just like the announcer for the games and less of like a personality for it. And then that guy with the crazy fucking beard over there, that is going to be Seneca Crane. He is the head game maker for the games for this year. And he is the one making all the decisions about what exactly will be going down and where. Down here on this bottom row, these other little bitty pictures are kind of just characters that they interact with and do like matter, but not super a lot, to be honest. So this is Portia. She is the other stylist for the other tribute from the games. You know who it is, but I'm not saying it because we all know that it's Katniss, but we all know who the other one is too, but maybe you don't, and if you don't, then I hope the suspense is fucking killing you. Oh my God, I hope you were just like on the edge of your seat to find out who the male tribute from District 12 is. Then these three little guys over here, this is, which one's which? I forgot. So their names are Venia. I got it. I remembered. This is Venia. This is Flavius. And this is Octavia. They are Katniss's prep team. So they work directly under Cinna to do like all the little like nitpicky beauty stuff to Katniss before the games. Here is my first thing that I'm going to tell you as a major difference between the book and the movie. There is a mayor, that character that exists in the book. His name is Mayor Undersea, and he has a daughter named Madge. So the thing that people is probably like the biggest gripe that people have with the adaptation is that these characters do not exist, mainly because Madge is friends with Katniss and does something slightly important that they changed to be something else. I kind of like that they got rid of the mayor. This is my hot take. This is my first hot take. I like that there's not a mayor character in the movie. In the book, it kind of has the mayor standing on stage doing like all of that exposition-y stuff that I just did for you earlier. But in the movie, it's like a propaganda film. The fact that Madge isn't there might make everything else that might be better not worth it to you, and that's valid. But I don't mind it, and I really don't even mind that Madge isn't there. I know, I said it. I said that. I just said that out loud. So, that's who these people are. That's the book cover. You fucking knew that. Those are who those people are. So let's get into the actual plot of the story, what you're here for. This is the point. So in the movie, it opens with Seneca Crane having a conversation with Caesar Flickerman about the games and why they exist. It's like his first interview with it, and he's talking about everything, and he's like going on like waxing poetic about why the games are important. Waxing poetic? That was good. That was good. Holy shit. Anyway, so he's going on and on about the games, and then it's a hard cut to Prim screaming in bed, waking up from a nightmare. It is so effective, and it works so fucking well. She's screaming, and she's crying, and Katniss is like going up to her, and she's trying to calm her down and put her back to sleep. And the thing that she says to her is, "Oh, Prim, it's your first year. Your name's only in there once. There's no way you're gonna get picked." We'll see. But then everything kind of comes back together. So book and movie kind of follow along the same thing for a little bit. Katniss and Gale. Oh God, they fucking hate him. He just sucks so bad. He just sucks so bad. So Gale and Katniss are like best friends, but he is just like, God, he has male manipulator written all over him. I hate him. I hate him so much. They're in the woods. I don't remember the exact dialogue, but I guarantee you Gale's being condescending. It's the morning of the reaping, and they're like discussing a lot of different things about the Capitol, which is kind of why I gave you all that exposition up front. A lot of the things that get discussed like by characters is the stuff that I already told you. So if I say they're discussing something that you already know, I'm not going to leave out anything important. They're also talking about exactly how many times their names are in today, which is that tesserae thing that I was telling you about earlier. So Katniss's name is in there 20 times and Gale's is in there 42 because he has multiple siblings and his mother, and Katniss just has the two of them to take care of. So he's in there a lot more times. So they're hunting in the woods. That's one of Katniss's like main things, is that she is a hunter and she is good at it. She had to learn to hunt in order to take care of her family, because when her dad died, her mother went into a like very, very severe depressive episode that she really hasn't ever fully come out of at the time that the story starts, and she was not providing at all, and her family were completely starving. And Katniss had to learn how to hunt to take care of them. So her and Gale, this fucking guy, he has a tragic backstory because his dad also died in the same mine accident as Katniss's. But Katniss also has a tragic backstory, and she manages to not be a fucking dick. So I think that maybe he could manage. I don't know. So anyway, after Katniss and Gale are done hunting, they take everything that they have like caught to the Hob in the district. And the Hob is essentially like a little black market that everyone in the district has set up in order to sell and trade goods back and forth to each other. Technically, this is not allowed. They should not be doing this. But District 12 has like very laid back peacekeepers at the moment who also kind of like engage in the trading as well. So we are at the big difference that everyone doesn't like. In the movie, while Katniss is in the Hob, she goes up to the table of a random lady, which I have chosen to believe is Greasy Say, which is kind of just like a lady in the Hob who does a bunch of different stuff, and I forgot to print out her picture. I'm so sorry, Greasy Say. Please accept my apology. But she kind of has like this table of different like trinkets and knickknacks and stuff. And Katniss sees this pin of this bird over there in the corner. Do you see him? There he is. He's over there. That's him over there in the corner, that little golden bird. I don't know why I did that. So Katniss is like, how much does it cost? And Greasy Say is like, just take it. So Katniss takes the pin with her. That is how we get to the iconic symbol of the Mockingjay pin in the movie. In the book, however, you remember how I told you there was a mayor character and his daughter Madge? Okay. Madge is important. This is what people are mad about. So Katniss and Gale go to the mayor's house to sell him strawberries and to talk to Madge. Gale, while there, is an absolute asshole to Madge, and what else is new? Basically what happens when that's going on, it's okay. Here's what it is. His whole thing is that Madge is like, oh, I'm a little scared because my name is in there and I don't want to have to go in the Hunger Games, because like the mayor's kids are not exempt. They still are a part of the reaping as well. And then Gale is like, you're not allowed to be scared about getting picked. You've never had to get tesserae in your life. Your name's on there like 3 or 4 times, like whatever, and like is really rude to her. And Katniss is like, what the fuck? But see, the thing about that is that that's ironic, because he says all of that shit, and then someone whose name is only in there one time and is not going to get picked gets picked. y'all know that. I know y'all know the story. Some of you don't know the story. I know at least one person that's watching this that doesn't know the story. Hi, I'm acting really unhinged right now, and I might want you to turn this off, but don't. But maybe do. So that's kind of like how it happens, and then that's when we meet Madge. So she doesn't get the pin from Madge at that time, but she does get the pin from Madge a little later on before the games actually start, and that's why people are upset that Madge is not in the movie. But it's not. It does not change. It does not change. It does not change enough for everyone to be as mad about it as they are. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Feel free to yell at me about it. So after both of these different events happen, Katniss goes home and she starts getting ready for the reaping ceremony, which is where they're going to pick the boy and girl district. The boy and girl tribute. I'm telling you this because it is absolutely devastating when it gets repeated again, and I need you to feel it and know that it happens. So the clothes are too big on Prim, and it's kind of like sticking out the back, and Katniss is like, tuck your tail in, little duck, and it's very sweet and it's very sisterly, and their relationship is very important. Their sister relationship is important. Most of the things that Katniss does for the past few years before the book even starts, and of course everything she does in the book, is for Prim and Prim only. Prim is her huge priority. That's her sister. I'm giving Gale a side eye for events that will happen later on. In the movie, this is when Katniss gives Prim the Mockingjay pin, and she says, like, nothing can hurt you when you have this. That's when that happens in the actual movie. So they're getting ready and everything, and then after they get ready, they're going to the reaping. So we are now at the reaping ceremony. Basically what's happening is all of the kids are lined up, separated between boys and girls, and on stage waiting you have Effie Trinket. She is in charge of like doing the reaping ceremony and then taking the 2 tributes that are chosen into the Capitol and making sure that they get where they need to go, and she's basically like in charge of them and kind of a babysitter, but I don't think she would like that if I called her a babysitter, so it's fine. So the female tribute is going to be called first, and Effie picks the name out of the little fishbowl, and it is Primrose Everdeen. She is 12. Her name is only in there once. She has still been picked. She is the tribute for the Hunger Games. This is terrifying, obviously, and especially to Katniss. Now, the reason I told you about tuck in your tail, little duck, earlier is because Prim gets like visually terrified instantly and starts walking towards the front, and they do this thing where you watch her like tuck the tail of the shirt back into her skirt as she's like walking forward to her death essentially, and I just like, honestly, how dare they? How fucking dare they do that? I know why they dare, because it was really good and emotional and it did exactly what it was trying to do, but also like I'm pissed about it. So Katniss is like freaking out and she's trying to figure out what to do. She doesn't know what to do. So, oh my god, what's going on? My sister's gonna go in the Hunger Games. Oh my god, what the fuck? I volunteer as tribute. That never happens. But it does this time. Katniss has volunteered to take Prim's place in the Hunger Games, so she goes up on the stage. And she is now the female tribute for District 12 in the Hunger Games. Lots of drama. Once she gets up on the stage, all of the people in the crowd give her this like this thing. The thing that you've seen a million times, the 3-finger thing. It's kind of like a sign of respect in the district. It will be co-opted by the revolution as time goes on, but that's okay. Prim is like screaming and crying as Katniss is doing this, and Gale has to like physically pick her up and take her away, which is like one of the only good things Gale will do throughout the run of this entire book. If I have an opportunity to say something nasty about Gale Hawthorne, I'm going to do it. And I need you to just get used to it. Oh my god, I love it. I live for it. I live for an opportunity to weasel in a nasty little comment about Gale because I hate him. So now it's time to pick the male tribute, and that is Peeta Mellark. He is chosen as the male tribute. He is the baker's son, and that's kind of all we know about him at the very start, except Katniss remembers him, and she's not exactly sure where, but she's having these little memories come up where she feels like they've had an interaction before, but it's very vague to her, and she knows it definitely happened a long time ago. They go on stage and they shake hands, and Effie says some more shit, and then they're taken inside the Justice Building to say goodbye to their family. So once they're inside there, Katniss is visited by various people. Peeta is as well, but this book is not from his point of view, so we do not see exactly who goes in to see him. We do see who goes to see Katniss. Now, there's a difference between the book and the movie here as well. It's not huge, though. It's just the people that she sees. So I'm going to start with the book because it's more people, and I think it's easier to go down than to go up. So she's visited by 5 people in the book. Her mother and Prim are the first people that she sees. Katniss is very stern with her mother. This is one thing I will say about Katniss. Girly is not very empathetic to mental health issues, which I understand because she was a child and she was parentified very early on because of her mother's issue. But you hear her internal monologue in the book. Oh, she hates that woman sometimes. Man, that's okay. It's understandable, but still, oof. Katniss is very stern with her mother, and she's like, you cannot black out and like leave like you did when Dad died. Prim has to have you. Like, you have to pull it together for her. One thing that happens a lot in the book that you don't really get to see in the movie is like Katniss's like internal thoughts. You see a lot more of those in the book, obviously, but she is like thinking from the very beginning, like, I'm going to die and that's for certain, so I need to make sure I have my house in order for when I end up getting murdered. That way everything is taken care of. So I need to make sure I tell my mom this so that she takes care of my sister for the rest of her life because I'm going to die. Katniss is a complicated, emotionally, I don't want to say emotionally stunted, but like she's got some things to work through before she ever goes to the games in the first place, and then she goes to the games and then that just fucks her up even more. So like, it's okay, but like, she is very like, this is my mission, this is what I have to do, and you know, it's because she wasn't allowed to be a kid. I understand, I know, but it is important about her character. It's a very important character trait that she has. I'm not saying it's negative, I'm saying it exists. So after Prim and her mom, the baker, aka Peeta's father, comes to visit her, and Katniss is like very confused as to why he's there. Basically, he promises that he will make sure that Prim is able to eat. Everyone is kind of like, everyone loves Prim. Not a lot of people like Katniss because Katniss is a very off-putting personality. We will find that more as time goes on. But again, it's because she was not allowed to be a kid and she's had to be strong her whole life, and that's exhausting. So again, anytime I'm talking about a character trait of Katniss that is not necessarily pleasant, Jesus Christ, that is not necessarily pleasant, it's not an indictment of her, and it's not me saying that I don't like that about her. It is, however, just the way that she is, and we have to accept the good and the bad of people because people aren't perfect, and that's what makes interesting characters, is when they do have some flaws. So I don't remember exactly when this is said in the book, but I'm going to mention it here. So Katniss's mom and the baker were like involved when they were kids. Like, he was in love with Katniss's mom, but she ended up marrying Cole guy over here. And it, you know, there's a lot of things, like Katniss has like this love of singing that she gets from her father, and that has a lot to do with it as well. But basically, Katniss's dad was very charming and energetic, and he kind of could command a room very easily, and Katniss's mom was drawn to that, so she did not end up picking the baker to end up with, and she ended up with Katniss's dad. Okay. Now, Madge comes in. Madge is not in the movie. Remember that if you don't remember, someone on the internet will remind you very quickly and tell you how bad it is. So don't even worry about it. You will find out. But this is where she gives Katniss the Mockingjay pen. Now, in the book, there's this thing where You are allowed to take a token into the games with you as like a memento for your district. They take this out of the movie, and I am glad. I think it is a strange detail that does not add much. That's another hot take. And Gale comes in. It's kind of like a regular goodbye. Gale also promises to take care of Prim, which is like nice of him, I guess. And then he like trails off as he's like taken out of the room, and he's like definitely about to confess his love to her because it's all about him. Even though she's about to go die, he definitely should be able to say what he wants to say out of selfishness in this time. But she doesn't hear it, and she doesn't know. Praise God. Okay, in the movie, not much is different. She only sees her mother, Prim, and Gale. That's really the main difference. And Prim gives the Mockingjay pin back to Katniss at this time and repeats the, like, if you have this, nothing bad will happen. Which I would like to take a second to gently remind Prim that when she was in possession of the pin, something very bad did indeed happen. And she was selected as the tribute for the Hunger Games. But we don't have to think about that. It's fine. It's fine. It's a sweet sentiment. If you have this, nothing bad will happen to you, even though something bad has already happened to me. I would also like to say, I have something to say. Isn't that so shocking? Whenever I see people talking about the pin switch of when it's given from the book to the movie, everyone is like, oh, Greasy Say gave Katniss the pin. No, Greasy Say didn't give Katniss the pin. She might have initially given it to her as like, you can take this pin, but the significance does not lie in the fact that Greasy Say gave her the pin. And to act like there's no significance in Prim giving her the pin is you're purposefully being obtuse. You're being facetious. You are purposefully you need to watch it again. One of those two things needs to happen. Go do it. Oh, shit. I'm talking too much shit. That's karma. I almost dropped this microphone. But, the thing about karma is that karma is the guy on the Chiefs coming straight home to me. So Katniss and Peeta have now officially said their goodbyes, and they are taken onto the tribute train, which is going to transport them to the capital. They're given a lot of like shit that they've never been able to have before, like amazing food. They kind of let the tributes live in luxury before they send them off to slaughter because they're like so nice and caring and thoughtful like that. This is also where they meet Haymitch, who is their mentor. Haymitch is a drunk. That is like the main thing that we know about Haymitch instantly. He is a drunk. He does nothing but drink. It makes sense because like he is the only mentor from District 12. There has not been a winner since him. So every year he sends 2 kids off to die and he watches it happen. So Haymitch is very apathetic when he first meets them. But they're both very feisty little guys. And so they kind of like shock him a little bit, and he's like a little surprised that they're being this way, and then he kind of starts to open up to the idea of like deciding to be an actual useful person who does something for them. This is also where we have the conversation where Peeta reveals that he did talk to his father when he was in the courthouse doing his goodbyes, and his father said, we might actually have a winner from District 12. And he was not talking about Peeta. Okay, so they get to the Capitol, and Katniss meets her prep team. These 3 little guys over here in the corner, that's her prep team. So they're kind of being a little like snotty with her, but they do have good intentions, and they are overall very nice to her, and they do like her a lot. Their job is to take her back to like Beauty Base 0 and get her ready to meet her head stylist named Cinna. So she's meeting her head stylist now, and the thing that you need to know about the people in the Capitol that I think I might have said already, but I'm going to say it again because I love to repeat myself, is that everyone dresses very extravagantly. The whole point of being in the capital is to show off the fact that you are rich as much as possible in as many ways as possible. So they dress as extravagant as they can. They will dye their skin, they will dye their hair, they will put weird tattoos on their body. They dress in crazy ways, except for Cinna. Cinna wears all black, and he just has some gold eyeliner on, and that is all that Cinna does. And that just kind of like helps establish Cinna as like a cool guy. Like he's different, and there's something intriguing and different about him, because Katniss is like dreading meeting him because she doesn't want to have to deal with fucking capital people. But then he's so nice and normal and not like that at all, and that also kind of like helps to other Cinna away from everyone else and make it like very evident that he will be very useful to her. But I love their dynamic, and I love the way that they talk to each other. When Cinna gets there, his goal is to get her ready for the tribute parade. So once they get to the tribute parade, the whole plan is that like all of the groups of the tributes go out in pairs, and they are wearing some kind of like costume that embodies their district, and it's kind of like to show them off to the people of the capital for the first time. Katniss says that like normally they do something super cliche and dress them up as coal miners, and like they kind of like do different examples of the different districts and stuff, but sometimes the stylists do really corny shit, and sometimes they do things that are actually nice. Sometimes they do things that are purposely provocative just to like shake it up and cause a scene and get the attention on them. Instead of focusing on like coal or like a coal miner, they focus on the flame. So basically they have Katniss and Peeta in all black, and they light them on fire with a synthetic fire that does not burn them. And so they are like the talk of the tribute parade. Everyone cannot stop looking at them. They are obsessed with them. They look so good, and they're catching everyone's eye. And so they're like, the camera's on them constantly, and they know that they have like won the tribute parade. You can't win the tribute parade, but like you can when it comes to public favor, and they have gained the public's favor. And also when they're on, guys, also when they're on the little chariot, Katniss and Peeta hold hands. They hold hands. It's so sweet. I love them. Decided to train together as a pair instead of getting separate advice from him. So his main piece of advice is to not do the thing that they're going to be like absolutely 100% the best at in front of the other tributes in order to keep the element of surprise. And he tells them to like go in and try doing other things and save that special skill for the private thing with the game makers, where they will evaluate you and give you a score. After they do all the training, the contestants get to go in and do a little showcase for the game makers of like what their special little skill is. So everyone goes, and Katniss is the very last one to go out of all of them. District 12 always goes last, but they get like the penthouse in the hotel. So I guess that's like the consolation prize for the fact that like they will probably definitely die because they're scrawny and poor. So Katniss hasn't been using the bow and arrow, which is what she's very good at because she is a hunter. She hasn't been using it in practice because she was told not to. But the thing is that this bow and arrow is like a very high-tech like metal bow and arrow, and very different from the wooden one that she's used to using. So when she goes in to do her showcase, the first time she does the arrow, she misses a little bit. She's not dead on because she's trying to get used to like the different strength of it and like how it's a completely different feel in her hands. She barely has the attention of the game makers at this point anyway, because she's the very last tribute that's going through, and they've kind of like checked out almost. And then as soon as she misses, they are not paying attention to her at all. She instantly corrects, and like the second time she tries to use the bow, she does it perfectly. She just needed to use it one time because she's very, very skilled and she's very talented. That's kind of like her shtick. But she turns around after she does it correctly, and they're still not paying attention at all. A roast pig has been brought in with an apple in its mouth, and all they care about is that fucking pig. And so what Katniss does, because she is an impulsive girly who lets the intrusive thoughts win big time, is she takes her arrow and shoots it into the area where the game makers are and directly into the apple in the pig's mouth. And they freak out. And then she just bows and leaves because she's a badass bitch. So then we are in like the living quarters that they're in, and we are gathered around the TV waiting for the training scores to come through. Katniss is sure that she's going to have the lowest score that's ever existed because she has like insulted the game makers basically and pissed them off. But instead, she gets a score of 11. It's the highest score of anyone else, and it's probably like one of the highest scores they give out because the score only goes up to 12. Everything's heating up, like all the different like little social like media appearances that they have to do start around this time. So the next day it's time for their interviews. During the day, Haymitch is prepping Katniss and Peeta for their interviews. But Peeta has decided that he now wants to work alone and not be paired up with Katniss anymore, which is interesting to her. But also she kind of has this thing. Listen, she cannot trust that man to save her life. Anytime that Peeta does anything, she instantly is like, oh, okay, so he wants to fucking kill me then. Hey, chill out maybe. Like Haymitch tells her that Peeta wants to like just like train by himself and go over the interview stuff by himself, and in her head she's like, well, yeah, I guess at some point I had to do it, might as well get used to it, might as well get ready, I'm gonna have to fucking kill him, so like that's fine, like it's fine, it's fine. That's very much her. She doesn't trust people, but like why would she, you know? Like again, I get it, I get her, I understand her. It doesn't make it not true though. So like everything that's happening right now is like the morning before the interviews, Haymitch is trying to help Katniss like perfect her interview style. Like, essentially what Haymitch is trying to make Katniss understand is that like she has to be a bubbly little bitch or no one's gonna send her shit in the arena to make her life easier, and she's gonna be stuck surviving on her own, and she's gonna die, which is she's not really fully grasping the gravity of it, and I think she's just being stubborn, and that's okay. So now it's time for the interviews. Katniss has spoken to Cinna before we get to this point, and I think like what it is that I love about their dynamic is that he is a very stabilizing force for her, and like he is someone who can like get her to understand when no one else can, and knows how to speak to her in a way that she will be receptive of, and she doesn't really have anyone else exactly like that. So Cinna puts her in this bright red dress, and when she spins around in a circle, it like lights on fire at the bottom to kind of like give that homage to like their tribute parade costumes, because then this is kind of like when Katniss gets like the name of Girl on Fire. It's like already being said, but it's cemented after this interview. A very inconsequential, small and tiny thing that is said during this interview in the book that I'm going to mention because there's a payoff 2 books later that I find very wholesome and sweet, is that Katniss says that she loves the lamb stew that's made in the Capitol. It's her favorite thing that she's eaten, and she cannot get enough of it. Her interview does go pretty well in general. She's definitely a little stiff at the beginning, but like once she gets going and she gets a little comfortable, she does compliment Caesar as like he is good at making the tributes stand out and meeting them where they are and helping them to give a good interview. One thing about Peeta is that he's gonna say some shit and it's gonna rock everyone's world, and it is so amazing. He does it every time. He's always like, and another thing, bam. And it's like the juiciest shit you've ever heard in your life. He's so good at it. It's a special skill that I wish I possessed. So like Peeta's already very charming and charismatic, so he doesn't need help from Caesar, which is how he's able to like drop in this thing, and all of a sudden Katniss is confused because he's talking about like he's had a crush on this girl for a long time, and Caesar's like, well, maybe, you know, if you get out, you can go find her and you can end up with her. And he's like, yeah, that would be difficult. And Caesar's like, why? And he's like, I brought her here with me. What? Yeah. So he has a crush on Katniss. Katniss thinks he's lying because she's oblivious. This does not improve quickly. So if you're hoping that she will wise up to the fact that she won't.
she will continue to think for way too long that he is making it up. An annoying amount of time, honestly. I need her to get a grip. Love her though. Katniss is like literally fucking furious about this, but she managed to like keep her composure in front of everyone else. But the second they get out of that elevator and get back up to that room, she grabs him and shoves him. He like cuts his hand up on a pot. She really needs to, the anger, I think what it is for her is that she feels like it makes her appear like soft and weak to be like, you know, someone have a crush on her. It makes her very feminine and girly, which she like does not want those qualities because she thinks that that makes her not strong. So, but then Haymitch is like, hey, dipshit, he made you look desirable and like there's something about you that like people should like and it's gonna be helpful in the long run. So can you cool it, please, for the love of God? And she's like, fine. Peeta and Katniss make up. Katniss finds Peeta out on the roof and they kind of have this conversation where he's talking about how like he refuses to become a piece in their games, which dirty work, Suzanne Collins. Given what you do to that boy, that is dirty fucking work. How dare you make him say that and then do what you do? I am appalled, but also you're a genius. You're a genius. It's a very sweet scene and it's very necessary because they go like into the games on a really good foot. And then they go to bed and now it's the day of the games. Cinna is down with Katniss in like her like get ready room to go up and he hides the pin in the movie. In the book it's just there, but I like the movie version better for this very particular instance of plot. So I'm going to talk about it. He like takes the pin and he hides it in the folds of her jacket. That way it's there, but no one knows that it's there because he's a sneaky little guy and he's a rebel at heart. And that lets you know that earlier. And I like that. I think that it's good. So after they're done talking, Katniss gets into like this tube situation that's going to lift her up into the games. And all of a sudden, she starts rising up. And now it is time for the games to begin. All right, welcome to the 74th annual Hunger Games, and may the odds be ever in your favor. That was a unique line reading of that, wasn't it? I've never heard it said like that before because it wasn't good. It's a bad way to say it. I realized that I forgot to say that this is President Snow. I'm leaving him up there because he's looming and he's not a huge part of this movie. But he's very important. So I'm going to let him loom. So these are all of the tributes in the 74th annual Hunger Games divided by district, female than male, female than male. Over here in this corner, we have our three capital people who are heavily involved. Seneca Crane, head game maker, Claudius Templesmith, announcer, and Caesar Flickerman, television host. And our flag is still there. Oh, say does that Star Spangled Banner yet wave. So we're just going to go right into it. Not all of these characters have names. There's 24 of them. They cannot all be named and all have super special deaths. Half of these children will die on the first day. So, ones that you do need to know. District 1. We have Glimmer and Marvel. District 2, we have Clove and Cato. These are all career people. And then this girl over here from 4 is also in the Career Alliance, but she is not named and is not important. District 5, female. She just has a nickname. We don't know her real name. It is Foxface, though, is her nickname. She is important. And then District 11, which is the district that is next to District 12. You have Rue as your female district person, female tribute. I keep doing that. And Thresh as your male. And then we know who the fuck those two are. All right, let's get rolling. So the 74th annual Hunger Games lasted a total of 18 days. So that's how long this happens. Over there, a couple days where no one dies. We really are not going, I'm not going to go into super depth about this. I'm going to talk about the things that are important to the story, and I'm going to let you know who dies what day. But I'm not going to sit here and go through like every last second of each day, because that would be so much information that is not important to it or how anything progresses from this point on. So let's begin. Really quickly, just to let you know what the arena is like. It's a very woodsy scene, which is helpful for Katniss because she is used to being in the woods and hunting and whatnot. It can rain, it's fresh water, it is a normal temperature during the day, but it gets very, very cold at night. It's a lot of woods, but there are some clearings. Of course, it starts right in the clearing. And then the cornucopia exists in the very middle of the arena, right around where it all starts. And that is where you're going to find all of the supplies and the weapons and everything. Haymitch has instructed them to not go to the cornucopia and to instead run away, because the first day is always called the cornucopia bloodbath. So remember how I just said that Haymitch told them not to go to the cornucopia and to run away instead. So Katniss is very stubborn and she ignores that, and she decides that she's going to go do it anyway, which it kind of works in her favor because she does get a little backpack with some very helpful supplies in it. However, she does also almost fucking die. So, win some, lose some. Let's go over who dies. All right, you got your female from 3, gone. You got your male from 4, gone. Male from 5, your female from 6, and your male from 6. Goodbye, District 6. Your male from 7, your female from 7 as well. Okay. Your male from 8. Oh, I didn't say goodbye, District 7. So sorry. Both from 9. Goodbye, District 9. Female from 10. And that is the state of the board at the end of the first day. So basically the first day ends. Katniss in her pack has ways to purify water, some goggles that she's not sure what they're used for, a sleeping bag, and a strap. So she climbs up into a tree because she's one of the only people that can climb trees, and she straps herself into the sleeping bag in the tree. That way she's out of reach of everyone else, but she can also get some rest because she's very smart and she's very baller. Okay, so 11 children dying is drama. However, the drama is going to begin this day. So day 2, Katniss wakes up. She hears something. It's the career pack wandering around. She's up in the tree, so they're not aware that she's there, but she is kind of spying on them from up in the tree. And she is shocked because who should be canoodling with this career pack up here but Peeta Mellark, her ally from her own district, with the pack of careers? Excuse me? Now, does it ever cross her mind that perhaps he might be just doing something to keep himself alive, and it might not be that deep, and maybe she should think before she jumps to conclusions and gets very angry and acts out and does something irrational? No, that's not really her forte. That's not really what she's super great at. So she is instantly angry, which I do understand. She does say oh, I'm excited to get to kill him now, or something to that extent, which is a little bit psycho behavior, but I'll give it to you because it does feel like a major betrayal. Band-aids don't fix bullet holes. You say sorry just for show. If you live like that, you live with ghosts. You forgive, you forget, but you never let it go. So she spends the day hunting and looking for water. She finds no water during this day. She didn't have any water at all on day 1, and she also has not found any today. She's getting dehydrated. As she's getting back into her tree to buckle back in and sleep, she notices that someone is doing something very stupid and unwise and has decided to light a fire. And it's very visible because it's nighttime and it is extremely cold. So Katniss feels a lot of sympathy for this person, but she's also not completely sure who it is. But she does hear someone from the career pack come up and kill this person. And that death at the end is the only death that day. And it is the girl from District 8. Goodbye, District 8.
Thank you so much for participating. The struggle that I just had with that 8 is probably going to end up in the video, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Okay, it's day 3. Katniss has now gone 3 days without water. She is extremely dehydrated, and she's probably going to die soon if she does not find water. She's angry because she's like, why hasn't Haymitch just sent me water? I could be fine. I could have water, and I could be living, and everything could be fine. And she's getting pissed at him. But because her and Haymitch are so damn alike, she realizes that he's being withholding on purpose, because she realizes that that means that water must be close because he doesn't think that she needs it that badly. So she becomes more determined to find the water that she's looking for. It's like the entire day of her being like so dehydrated, she feels like she's on the brink of death and trying to find water. They don't really put all of that in the movie because I don't really know how they would. At the very end of the day, she's like laying down on the ground. She's doing one of those like resigned to death monologues in her head again, which she does pretty often, to be quite honest. And then she realizes that she's touching mud, and there's a pond right close by. So she is finally able to get water, and that's how day 3 ends. There are no deaths on day 3. Day 4, I like to call the day of the fireballs. So basically what's happening is Katniss is getting close to the edge of the arena, and Seneca Crane doesn't like that, and he wants to deter her from the edge. So he starts a huge fire in the forest that is like devastating, and it's kind of like chasing her and following her exact path almost to get her away from the edge. But also then the fire starts spitting out huge fireballs, and one hits her and she burns her leg really badly, and she burns her hand really badly. It's like gnarly. It's fucking bad. She gets her shit rocked. She gets her shit absolutely rocked. And she finds a pond of cold water, and she's trying to like cool it off. That way it'll feel a little better. But then the careers find her, and they start chasing her. So she crawls back up in her tree, and they're kind of like surrounding her at the bottom of the tree, trying to get up. We learn that Glimmer is the one that ended up getting the bow and arrows that were like definitely meant for Katniss, and she's shit with them. She cannot use them well. She's like aiming them at Katniss. Nothing's happening. Katniss is being a little bit of a little bitchy bitch, and she's like, oh wow. That's not how she says it. She says it much cooler than that, but I can't remember exactly what she says, and I'm not as cool as her. They don't come from like tree heavy districts, the careers don't, so they don't really have a way to follow her up into the tree. So they're kind of just like down there at the bottom, and they're like, we'll just wait her out until the morning. She can't stay up there forever. So they kind of make camp directly under the tree for the night, right below her. So they've all settled in and started to go to sleep, and Katniss starts to hear like a noise, and she looks over and she sees that something's up in the trees with her, and she thinks it might be like an animal or something, but she realizes that it's Rue, the 12-year-old from District 11. Rue is also good at climbing trees because the thing in District 11 is agriculture. So Rue points above Katniss, and Katniss realizes that there is a trackerjacker nest up above her. So trackerjackers are essentially going to be like wasps, but if the venom was 10 times worse and could make you hallucinate and kill you very quickly with only a few stings. It's bad. It's not great. The hallucinations especially are gnarly. So, but they're not really like doing anything, they're not really attacking, and she realizes it's because all of the smoke from the fires has made them lethargic, like when you smoke out a bee nest. If you're a beekeeper, you know, I know so much about beekeepers. I actually am terrified of bees. I know literally next to nothing about beekeepers, and I don't want to know. I would like to have no knowledge on how bees work because they scare me. They freak me out and I don't like them. So Katniss gets an idea, and it like Rue also kind of gave her the idea, but Rue could not speak it. She could just point at it. So like they work very well together basically, and they are very much on the same wavelength. But Katniss is like, if I saw this trackerjacker nest down, it will land on them, and then like problem solved. So she starts doing it, but then like it starts getting quiet, and she doesn't want them to know that she's doing it, so she has to take a break and wait until the morning. There are no deaths on day 4. Day 5, Katniss wakes up and she finishes sawing off the nest from the tree.
So she drops it onto them while they're sleeping, and they instantly wake up and they freak out. She gets stung a couple of times in the process, like on her cheek and her hand. Like they're starting to wake up as she's waking up, so she's sawing it, but they are kind of getting her little by little, but she only gets stung a couple of times. Most of the careers are able to escape with just a few stings, but Glimmer and the girl from District 4 are not so lucky, and they get like stung to death and are like dead under the tree. So Katniss is kind of like giving it a little time to settle, and then she has been stung, so she's getting very woozy, feeling very awful, but she climbs down out of the tree. Remember, Glimmer is the one with the bow and arrow, so she gets the bow and arrow from Glimmer, but she's like losing it at this point. Like it's starting to set in heavy, and so she's like kind of resting against the tree, and then Peeta comes out of nowhere and is like, what are you doing? Get out of here. Go. You need to leave. They're going to come back. And she's confused, and she's not sure if that really happened or not, because Peeta's with the careers now, but he seems to be like trying to save her, and she knows that she just got like the tracker jack or whatever, so she feels like she might be hallucinating, and she kind of like wanders around and has some weird visions, and then she passes out in a ditch. Basically, it might not be a ditch, but it's funny to think that it's a ditch, so I'm gonna say ditch. As far as the deaths go for today, obviously, like we said, we have Glimmer from District 1 and the girl from District 4. Thank you for being with us, District 4. You may leave. You did not receive a call back. So Katniss wakes up and she kind of has like some leaves wrapped around her tracker jacker stings, and she's starting to feel a lot better. And she realizes that Rue found her passed out, and she knew like the herbal remedy for the tracker jackers and helped her out, because Rue is a sweet, precious little angel baby, and I love her. Rue also tells Katniss that she was out for 2 days. So 2 days have passed and no one has died during that time. But Katniss has been like down and out for a while. During this day, Rue and Katniss start to get very close. I mean, if you like, Rue is 12 and Prim, Katniss' sister, is 12, except like Rue doesn't have anyone to volunteer for her, so she had to go in. And I think that like that proximity is a lot for Katniss, and all, but also Rue's just a very sweet girl, and they get along well. Katniss also feels like very protective over Rue, and they do agree to have an alliance together, and then they start making a plan of what they can do to kind of like mess with the careers and make it really difficult for them to continue on. What they really want to do is like get rid of their supplies in some way. That way they don't have anything to keep them like strong and healthy, so that they start to deteriorate along with everyone else, since they're in such a strong alliance. And there are no deaths on this day. All right, we are on day 8. Katniss and Rue are woken up by the sound of a cannon. They don't know who it is that's dead, but obviously someone is dead. A cannon goes off every time someone dies. So they go forward with their plan to destroy the career supply. So basically what the careers have done is they have stockpiled everything in the cornucopia, and everything is like out around there. They have it guarded, but like not super guarded. And the plan is that Rue is going to go set some decoy fires in 3 different places around the arena to draw the careers away, and then Katniss is going to go down to the cornucopia and see what she can do to destroy the supplies. When they're formulating this is when we get the very iconic whistle that's associated with this franchise that I kind of want to do, but I feel like if I mess it up, I'm going to be embarrassed, so I'm not going to do it, and you will just have to imagine it. Katniss gets down to the cornucopia, and she's kind of watching, observing, trying to figure out what's going on. The only person that's there to guard it is this boy from District 3. He's like a very small kid, so she's confused because it's a lot of stuff to leave there without really a lot guarding it, because he's really not going to be able to do anything. But as Katniss is watching, she sees Foxface from District 5 kind of like come in, and she's kind of like hopping and skipping around and like purposely missing certain places, and Katniss realizes that what they've done is, so there are mines all around the pedestals that the contestants stand on before the games start. That way, if someone steps off early, they're blown up, and that's it for them, the end, whatever, forever and ever. But The boy from District 3, he's from the technology district, remember? He has figured out a way to make the mines active again. So they are working. So they have all of their food all stockpiled around these mines. That way, if anyone goes to it, they will be blown up, which is why there's no one really guarding all the food. So once Katniss realizes this is what's happening, she's having to improvise. She's trying to think of what she can do. And she realizes that there's like this bag of apples hanging on the side of this pile. And she has a bow and arrow. So she takes her arrow, and I think she uses 2 or 3. She essentially like slices open this bag of apples, and they all tumble down out, and they hit the landmines, and it blows up the entire stock of supplies that they have. And the careers come running back, and they are furious. Cato especially. If Royd wait, do I have a speech impediment? Like, do I? And I don't know it. What I was going to say. If Royd Rage could have a human embodiment, it would be Cato from District 2. That man is crazy and violent. And what he does is when he realizes what's happened, he gets mad at the boy from District 3 because of course it's his fault, even though he's a genius and he made it work for this long. But because it failed, he's mad at him, and he like, you know, he breaks his neck a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot. He kills him. He's dead. Boy from District 3 is dead. Katniss stays nearby under a bush that night. Like the blast from it really affected her a lot, and she's really disoriented, and she like is having trouble hearing out of one of her ears, and it's just like not good for her. So the only death on this day that we like see happen is the boy from District 3. But then we also had the cannon that woke them up in the morning. We learned that is the boy from District 10. So 10 is out and 3 is as well. We are left with only named characters now, so you know shit is about to get good. Okay, when Katniss wakes up from her like really disorienting whatever is happening, she is deaf in her ear. Left ear. Sorry, I forgot which ear it was. She's deaf in her left ear. She realizes that Rue never made it to the 3rd fire that she was supposed to set, so Katniss is getting nervous, and she starts running, and she's trying to get back to Rue. And then she hears the call, and she's like, okay, I guess we're good. But then she hears screaming. And so she's running. She's trying to get to Rue. She's trying to get to Rue. The exact manner of this is different in the book and the movie, but essentially, whichever way you slice it, Rue is trapped under a net, and she's trying to get out. Katniss managed to get her out, and she's checking to make sure she's okay. And then, all of a sudden, this spear comes flying through the air and hits Rue. And Rue is going to die. She is not yet dead yet at this exact moment, but she will be dead soon. Katniss whips around instantly. It's Marvel from District 1. He has the spear. Like instantly, as soon as she like perceives what has happened, she shoots him with her bow and arrow instantly. He is dead. He is completely dead instantly. Rue is still kind of alive because of course she is, because it must be tragic, because it is a catalyst for Katniss. And honestly, the entire story, nothing else would have happened if Rue did not die in this way and if Katniss didn't react in the way that she does. Katniss is like singing Rue to sleep, and then Rue dies, and Katniss is like understandably devastated, right? But she decides that she's really fucking angry because this is all happening because of the Capitol. The Capitol is the reason that Rue is dead. All of this cruelty. She's just killed someone. She's never killed anyone before directly. She's just killed someone. All of these children are dying, and it's because of the Capitol, and she's very mad. She decides to cover Rue's body in flowers, so just like as an act of rebellion, because she wants Rue to be honored, and she doesn't walk away from Rue's body so that it can be like taken up in the hovercraft like it's supposed to be until she's done. And she knows that like it's very possible that none of this is being like broadcast into the districts for them to see, because it's a very clear act of rebellion, but she knows that she absolutely has to do it anyway. So she spends a while doing that, and she's like, in the movie at least, Jennifer Lawrence does a really good job. She's like crying, sobbing the whole time. It's very good. It's very well done. It's very well done. If you have like not seen the movie and you're watching this, I think you should still watch it. After Katniss does all of that and covers Rue's body as like an act of rebellion, she finally understands what Peeta meant when he said he didn't want to be a piece in their games the night before they went in. In the movie, they do a cutaway to District 11, and you see like an absolute riot is breaking out over Rue's death. Like, people are throwing shit, they're screaming, they're like trying to like get up onto the Justice Building steps. In the book, it's just that Katniss receives a piece of bread from District 11, which is like absolutely unheard of and honestly like not allowed at all, but they send her a piece of bread as a way of thanks. And I think those are both effective in their own ways. So as far as deaths go, dear sweet Rue has passed, and this fuckhead has passed. I don't care about him. He sucks. Goodbye, District 1. Good riddance. So the only careers we have left are District 2. They are both still alive at this point. Foxface is still here, Thresh from 11, and both of our 12 girlies. And we're still iffy on if Peeta has gone to the dark side or not. We're still not sure at this point in time if what she saw really happened or not. All right, so a good bit of day 10 is spent with Katniss just being like sad about Rue's death. Like, she's very much ruminating over it for a lot of it. She tries to force herself to be productive and like start hunting so she has something to eat. And then fucking Claudius Templesmith over here in the middle on the far side makes an announcement that they're changing the rules, and there can be 2 victors if they are both from the same district. This is unheard of. This has never happened before. So basically, 2 and 12 both have both of their things. They're all here, so they could be good to go. Katniss audibly says Peeta out loud when she hears it, and her first thought is, oh, that'll convince them that I really have feelings for him. Girl, be so serious. Be so serious. She's a little pathological sometimes, but it's okay because she's allowed. Because I say she's allowed. Because she is a sweetheart and she's never done anything wrong in her life ever. That's really all that happens that day. No one dies. So now we're on day 11. We're going to enter like a few days where honestly not a lot goes down as far as like action. Peeta and Katniss are reunited on day 11. Katniss finds Peeta. So he is like... This is one of the things that people make fun of because he's like completely camouflaged on the side of like a rock near a river, like completely blended in. Like Katniss almost doesn't see him, and she's like, how did you do that? And he's like, I decorate the cakes at the bakery, and this makes total sense, and I can turn myself into a complete rock because I put pretty frosting on the cakes. I'll let her have it. She's a genius everywhere else. She can make me believe that this is true about the cakes and the camouflage. But essentially what's happened is that Peeta has been attacked by Cato at some point in time in the past few days. He was not actually in an alliance with them. He was trying to play them. He was trying to keep Katniss safe, and they were trying to find her, but he was trying to lead them in the wrong direction. But Cato has cut Peeta with a sword, and Peeta has a gnarly infection in his leg. Like, it is bad. Like, it is bad. It's a bad situation. He could die. He could die at any moment. It's like, if he keeps going, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So Katniss finds this little cave structure, and they go in there. They, like, kiss. It's not at all genuine, and she doesn't mean it, and she's doing it because she wants Haymitch to give him something for the really bad fever that he has. But like, in my heart, it means something to her. and that'll get you in trouble. That's the kind of shit that gets you in trouble. Don't do that in real life. So Haymitch does send them something after they kiss, but all that he sends them is a like singular thing of broth, which Katniss instantly knows means like, that is not good enough. You got to give me something else to work with. Are you kidding me? Just one little peck on the lips. Be so serious. No one dies on this day. All right, day 12. Peeta's fever has broken, so Katniss decides that she's going to try to sleep for a little bit, but when she wakes up, he is even worse. He is terrible. Things are bad. Things are very, very bad. So she kind of is like trying to figure out and like clean out the wound and see what's going on. And she finds out that he 100% has blood poisoning, which is like, we got maybe 24, 48 hours tops before my man is dead and gone for good. She's kind of like freaking out and trying to figure out what to do. But then Claudius, fucking electroshock hair over there, makes an announcement that tomorrow there will be a feast at the cornucopia, and each district will have something that they desperately need there for them to get and take with them. It's basically designed to like draw them out so that things will happen, but it is something that they need, and she knows that it's going to be medicine for Peeta's leg. That way he can like not fucking die, I guess. I don't know. Peeta's like, no, absolutely not. You're not doing that. You're not going to go die for me. And Katniss is like, okay. But then she goes outside and she receives a little package from Haymitch, and she opens it and she's like, what is this? And it's sleep syrup. So basically, he sends her a vial of drugs to knock him the fuck out for an entire day. That way she can leave in the morning and go get the stuff. That doesn't happen in the movie. That's just in the book. But I think it's very funny, and I wish it was in the movie. That is one thing I 100% wish was in the movie. The next morning on day 13, Katniss leaves dear drugged up little Peeta, and she goes to the cornucopia. She realizes that Foxface has been hiding inside the cornucopia and runs out really quickly. I didn't point. That's Foxface. You knew that already, though. Runs out really quickly, gets what she needs, and just like runs back into the woods. She's very smart. She's very smart, and it's funny that they call her Foxface because they said that she looks like a fox from the beginning, but she also has a lot of like personality traits of a fox, and I think that is very good. I like that. Katniss takes a beat, but then realizes like all there's left to do now is run for it, so she starts making a run for it, but then Clove attacks her. And one thing about Clove is that she loves a good knife. So Clove has Katniss like on the ground, and Katniss is like, this is it. Clove's like taunting her and being like, I think I'm going to take my time. I'm going to spend forever like killing you. She keeps like taunting her about lover boy, which is Peeta. And she's going on, but she's like taunting her. She's talking about Peeta. She's talking about how Marvel killed Rue. She's going on and on about that. She's like gloating about how Rue's dead. And then she's about to start cutting Katniss up. Katniss gets one pretty bad cut over her eyebrow. But then all of a sudden, Clove is like yanked off of her. And it's Thresh from 11. The guy from 11 has pulled her off. And he's like, what did you do to her? What did you do to that little girl? Excuse me? And like Clove's backpedaling because she knows she's about to fucking die because she is stupid. And so she's like, no, I didn't. And then like Thresh kind of like, he like beats her head in with a rock. Like that's, like he does. Like he completely 100% beats her head in with a rock. So Clove is dead. And Katniss is like, okay, well, I guess like I'm next, because she's still like on the ground kind of in a daze. She's like, I guess I'm next. I don't like, she's like preparing herself. She's doing that thing again where she's like, all right, I'm gonna die. Let me monologue about it in my head for a little bit. Love her though. And then Thresh goes, just this once, 12, for Rue, and runs off with his supply and lets Katniss live. Katniss does not know what to do with this. She hates feeling indebted to people, and she feels indebted to Peeta, and she feels indebted to Thresh. Oh my god, I left out something important. I left out something really important. I meant to say this towards the beginning. So the thing about, like, remember when I alluded to the fact that Katniss was like, I recognize Peeta, I think, but I'm not exactly sure where. Yeah, I meant to touch base back on that and I forgot. So here's what I forgot to say. Oops. Right after Katniss's dad died, when she was starving before she learned how to hunt, she was like digging through the trash outside the bakery trying to find something to eat. Peeta's fuck ass mom came outside and was like yelling at her and like running her off. But then Katniss is like hunkered under a tree, like starving to death, trying not to die. And she hears like yelling from inside. And then Peeta walks out and he has like two kind of like burnt on the edge loaves of bread. Like they're just a little bit burnt though. It's not bad. And he's supposed to be feeding them to the pigs, but instead he throws them to her. And then like his mom is like furious and like hits him. And so she feels indebted to him. She feels debt that way. She feels debt for Thresh. That's kind of the through line there. And I meant to explain that way earlier and I forgot. And that is on me. But it is 3 a.m, so cut me some slack, please. Anyway, Katniss is like stunned for a second, and then she gets up and she grabs the bag and she just like runs like hell back into the woods. So, one death, just Clove. Clove is gone. Everyone else is still there. All right, we're at day 14. Katniss passes out once she gets back and like gets Peeta situated. And when she wakes up, Peeta's like doing a lot better and he's like bandaged her forehead up and is like kind of like taking care of her now. But it's sweet. I don't know. It's sweet. There's a really bad like storm. It's raining really bad. So this entire day is kind of just like Peeta and Katniss like talking and like it's a lot of like not lovey-dovey stuff, but like in that realm. And Peeta tells the story of when he first realized he liked Katniss, and Katniss in her head is like, wow, he's like a really good actor. That's crazy. Girl, wake up. Wake up. No one dies that day. Literally nothing happens. Day 15, they wake up. It's still storming really bad outside. And they're getting very hungry. They're still talking and then they kiss again. But like this kiss, like, it just like, it feels different, you know? Like it feels a little like something else is going on there. What's that about? And obviously everyone can tell because Haymitch sends them a bunch of food. So they were both asleep, so they didn't like know, they didn't hear a cannon go off, but they find out that night during the recap that plays in the sky that Thresh was killed during the day, which Katniss is like, I understand this one more than the stuff about Peeta, but like she is slightly thankful that he is dead because she knew that she like wouldn't really be able to do it, but she also knew that like her and Peeta needed to get home. So I'm glad that that took care of itself as well, because I don't think it was ever a possibility that like we would have ever seen it go another way. I just don't think that it would have been doable, or like it would have ruined Katniss's character if that would have been the way that they set it up. So like her not even going down that road is the best way to do that. We don't know exactly how or by who, but like we kind of assume that it's Cato based off of who's left on the board, because Thresh is very big and strong and there's no one else. It was definitely Cato. So it's day 16. Things are starting to wind down a lot, which makes Katniss nervous because she knows that means that something big is probably going to happen soon to kind of like bring everything together and kind of have everything go out with a bang. Peeta's doing exponentially better. Like it was a high-tech capital thing, so it worked really quickly. And so they decide to go hunting. Peeta is still like injured though. Like he's not just magically cured. So he's kind of like clunking around in the forest and it's making it really difficult for her to hunt. So she sends him off separately to go find like berries or like something else to eat. That isn't gonna like be scared away by the way that he's like clunking around. So Katniss is hunting, and then all of a sudden she hears the sound of a cannon. Someone has died, and she's freaking out and she's running. She's like, Peeta, 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 and then she runs right into him. He's alive. He's fine. So who's dead? Peeta was picking some berries, and he didn't realize it, but those were like berries that were extremely poisonous. He had these berries, but it turns out that Foxface, who we know is kind of like a watcher and a lurker trying to figure out what's going on, saw him picking the berries and assumed that they were safe to eat, and so she ate them and she died. Now, there was a theory that I think is a little silly. That Foxface did that on purpose because there's in the training montage she's like clicking on these buttons with these berries on it in the movie. This is in the movie. And so she knew that those berries would be poisonous, and so therefore like it has to be she basically like killed herself. She did it on purpose to get it out. I don't really think like I guess, but I don't feel strongly about it, but everyone's like really obsessed with this theory. I think that might just be a silly little thing that they added into the movie because it's like 5 seconds and it's not important. And like based on everything that happens in the book, you are very much led to believe that she did it on accident. And there's really no counter indication that that is not what happened. Like, I think that it goes with, like, the fox-like behavior for her to be, like, watching and, like, taking things. Like, Swiper No Swiping is a fucking fox for a reason. Like, that's Foxface. Like, she's swiping when she should be no swiping. Anyway, Katniss takes some of the berries with her because she's like, maybe we can trick Cato in the same way. So then they kind of, like, start walking around because now it's just the three of them. And so she's sure that, like, something absolutely crazy is about to happen. So that is a wrap on Foxface and a wrap on District 5 as a whole. So we are down to our final three. We have Cato, Katniss, and Peeta. Katniss and Peeta are obviously the only pair left. So if they can defeat Cato, they will automatically win the Hunger Games together as a pair for like the first time in history. Okay, we're going to get some big departures from the book here. It doesn't really like change the core of what's happening, but it's just like timeline wise it's crunched down significantly from this point. I'll let you know when we start to deviate, but we start out basically the same. So Katniss and Peeta just said that they're just going to go find Cato because they don't want to wait around anymore. They want to just get it over with. So they're looking for Cato, and they see Cato and he's running at them full speed, but he just like keeps running past them, and they're confused, but they're also like, uh-oh, that is not a good sign. In the book, he has like on full body armor. That's important. In the movie, he does not have that on. So they realize that coming behind Cato is this pack of huge like mutated dogs. They're called like mutations is what they're called like in the world of the book. There is these huge mutated dogs, and they are chasing them, and like they are trying to kill all three of them. Like that is the point. There's an extra twist in the book that I'll get to in a second. So they start running. They run to the cornucopia, and they're all climbing up on the cornucopia. As they're climbing up, Peeta gets his leg absolutely ripped, chomped into by these dogs. Like, they make a meal out of his calf muscle, is my understanding of what's going on. It might even be worse than that. I don't know. So he's like bleeding profusely, and Katniss is trying to find a way to stop the bleeding. So she ties like a tourniquet, but she ties it really tight, and she's like, I feel like I might have just fucked this up and something bad could happen to his leg. I'm not sure though. So Katniss is like looking at these mutts, and she's like, something about these is just like really familiar looking, like the fur color and the eyes. And she realizes that all of the mutts have little collars on that have a number between 1 and 11. And she realizes that the mutations are like supposed to look like the tributes. Like their fur color is their hair color, and their eyes are exactly the same color. So she sees the one that looks like Rue. She sees the one that looks like Marble, the guy that she killed. And it's like, it's meant to fuck with them. That's like the only reason that it exists, and why they look like that is so that they can be like psychological torture along with the threat of being eaten by an actual dog. So they're like all catching their breath. Cato was up on top of the cornucopia with them as well, but like they all had to climb up there. So they're all catching their breath, and then all of a sudden Cato has grabbed Peeta, and he's using him as a human shield. And he's like, if you shoot me, he's going down with me. The end. That's fine. And like Cato's like doing like not a villain rant, because I feel weird calling him a villain, like, because he is just a kid, and like, yeah, he's like a douche, and he comes from Career Village, so like he thinks that the games are great, but like he is still a kid, and I think that it might be a little silly to go full out into like calling him names. But Katniss realizes that she can shoot his hand, and he'll like have to let go reflexively of Peeta. So she does this, and he falls into the dogs. In the movie, she instantly goes to the side, shoots an arrow at him, and the end, it's just the two of them left, and they're waiting for them to announce them as the winners. In the book, remember how I said he's wearing full body armor? Yeah. So the dogs are trying to like get to him to eat him apart, but they can't really because he has on the full body armor. So they kind of spend like an entire night ripping him to shreds slowly. And he is alive for the entire thing. It's kind of a lot, honestly. Like it's kind of fucking a lot. Like it's a big deal. He's alive for the whole thing. They can hear him like whimpering and like crying, and he just like won't die. And I don't know why she doesn't kill him. Because it's like he's like slowly dying. In the book, PETA has been chomped down on the leg by one of these dogs. So he's still bleeding really bad. In the book, an entire night passes and Kato is still alive and is like bits and pieces, but is still alive and is still like making noises. So the next morning, Katniss takes the arrow out of the tourniquet she made for PETA and shoots Kato with the arrow, and he dies. Okay, so now we're back at the same place. Kato is dead. It's just the two of them. So they're standing there. They're waiting. Oh, let me go ahead and take that little guy down. He's gone. Just the two of them. They are alive. But they're waiting for Claudius Templesmith over there to tell them that they've won the 74th annual Hunger Games, but they're not hearing anything from him and they're confused. Remember now in the book, PETA has lost the thing in his tourniquet, and he is now essentially bleeding out. Like he is basically bleeding out at this point in time. There's nothing keeping the gaping wound in his leg from bleeding everywhere. So they're confused and they're looking around, and then all of a sudden they hear an announcement, and Claudius Templesmith says, "The previous deal is no longer valid. We will not be honoring that. There can only be one winner." Shady bitches. That's so shady. Absolutely so fucking shady. Shady ass bitches. So they kind of are like looking at each other, and Katniss in one last round of, I'm assuming the worst of PETA instantly, and I cannot see him as anything but a problem. In this book, she will do it again. But the last time in this book, like raises her arrow a little bit as if she's gonna like shoot him. And he's like, hello, what the fuck are you doing? And then, so they're both standing there, like, arguing about, they're like, we can't do it. We're not going to do it. No, we can't. And he's like, do it. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it. And he's like, just do it. Da-da-da. They go back and forth. But then Katniss has an idea. She realizes that she still has those poisonous berries, that handful of poisonous berries. So she looks at PETA and she's like, do you trust me? He's like, yeah. Which I'm glad that was not in reverse, because she would not fucking trust him at all. But so she hands him some of the berries, and she has some in her hand. And basically, the plan is to eat the berries at the same time so they both die, and then they won't have a winner. I think that Katniss pretty much knew that would be happening. I don't think that she ever really intended on either of them like dying together, Romeo Juliet style. I know it's not Romeo Juliet because it's happening at the same time and they're both aware, but it's a reference. So they like go to put them in their mouth, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Templesmith is like, wait. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the winners of the 74th annual Hunger Games. Woo! Oh my God. Yeah. So, she kind of gamed the system. I'm sure that will have nothing but great repercussions for her, and nothing bad will happen at all. So they get like taken up into the hovercraft pretty quickly. In the book, Peeta is still profusely bleeding from his leg. Please do not forget that this is happening. He is like, he could die at any second and could have been dying the whole time they're having this debate about who's going to kill who. It's literally insane. And so they get back up in the hovercraft, and then Katniss like sees herself for the first time, and she's like, I look like that? Like, it's bad. I mean, it's been like 18 days out in a forest with like nothing to do, and she's like killed people, and she's probably got blood all over her. Like, it's bad. But like they get separated, and Katniss is like screaming, crying, throwing up. Like she can't get out of like the mindset of like, if she's away from Peeta, he's gonna get murdered or something. So she's like screaming, crying. None of this is in the movie, so I'm telling you it because I think that it's good for like showing the care that they have for each other, or at least the care that she has for him, because she is very in denial about the fact that she cares for him a lot, but like her actions very much show that she does, and this is a very good example of that to me. So that's it. That's the end of the games. Let's get back to our regularly scheduled board. If you're wondering, I definitely am not like skipping over the games right now and recording this first before I do that, so I don't have to change this board back to this for a second time. That's definitely not what's happening. Don't even worry about it. I'm doing this very authentically, and I would never lie to you. Okay, so the games are over. I'm going to stay in the vein of the book for just a second before I go back into it, because at this point the movie starts wrapping up really quickly, and there's a lot of stuff that happens in the book that is not carried over into the film franchise that is important. All in all, like, even though the book does like go into a lot of detail, there's not really a lot that's different about it, I would say. Like, okay, there actually is like one thing that's like super different, but we will get there in a second. So Katniss and Peeta are taken up into the hovercraft to get all of this shit done to them. They like go to do a post interview with Caesar, and this is when Haymitch tells Katniss that President Snow is pissed about the berries. He is not happy. He knows that this is going to inspire rebellion, and he needs Katniss and Peeta to continue to act like they're in love, or bad things are going to happen. They must continue. Basically, he says that she has to keep up the star-crossed lovers routine, or they're all gonna die. Essentially, like they will be killed if she doesn't do this well. So then they do like the post interview, and like while they're sitting there is when Katniss realizes that because of all the stuff that happened to Peeta, he lost his leg, and he has an artificial leg. He has a prosthetic leg. So then after that happens, they go back to Panem, and like everything starts to kind of return to normal, and they aren't as close as they were, and Katniss does feel sad about it, but don't ask her to figure out what that means for her, because she will not get it. She will not get it. It will take her literally so long before she gets it. The movie is mostly the same. They show Seneca Crane getting locked in a room with a bowl of the berries, essentially as to be like, Seneca Crane had to leave us, and he did it, but it was not really his choice. It was like, do this or don't, but like, you're not leaving. Sucks to suck. And also, the big thing that's different is that in the movie, Peeta does not lose his leg. That is just completely absent, which, you know, they took out the thing with the big dog bite and the putting the tourniquet too tight and everything like that. So it makes sense that it's gone. But in the future, when we get into the next book, there's some things that Peeta does that make sense if he has a prosthetic leg. Those things make sense. And there are things that don't make a lot of sense if Peeta does not have a prosthetic leg, and instead kind of make him look very like, it's kind of like, why is he acting like this then, if like he's fine? But it's because in the book he's written to have a prosthetic leg, which does make things more difficult for him, but that's not in the movie, so he kind of just looks a little silly. And like it's like, why is this, why are you acting this way? So yeah, that's it. That is the plot of The Hunger Games. And like every single thing that happened, and also all of my opinions that you didn't ask for at all. I'm gonna try to get these out like quickly. Don't hold me to that. It's the holiday season. It's so late. I hope there's still hype for this by the time I get these out. Like, can someone please watch this? Because it's taken some time, a lot of time. So if you could like watch this, I'd love it. And if you could like maybe interact with it in some way, I'd love that too. Like if it's like on your heart, if you need to like pray about it or something, or like you want to maybe like throw me a bone, that'd be cool. Okay, that's it. Bye.